Welcome to Windows on the World. This week I'm going to do a follow-up show to a show we did several weeks ago actually, BBC Lies and Lambeth Corruption. And there's another show which we did last week which was UK Housing Crisis and Regeneration Exposed. And this is a very, very serious issue and it affects everybody in the country. It's how our rights are being taken away with new laws that are coming in through local authorities, but it actually removes the local authority from the equation. You can find that in UK Housing Crisis and Regeneration Exposed. These two words, housing crisis and regeneration, have been used over and over again. There is no real housing crisis, we've already discussed this, and regeneration is not what it appears to be. I'm with Ison Dennis, who's lived on the Alsbury estate for about 23 years and has seen the changes. The Alsbury estate in South London is about to be demolished. So welcome, Ison.
Hi.
Hi. So we've had a little chat about this, and we've had the background from this from people like Piers Corbyn and of course Val, who was here last week. And in our previous shows, we've gone into quite some depth as to what this is really about. But before we go into that today, could you just give us a bit of your background? How long have you been at the Aylesbury and what you've seen changing since you've been there?
I moved to the Alsbury estate 93 in May. So it is the first time and I had a place my own, and it's a very special place for me to live there. But it's been 23 years and it is the absolutely wonderful community which gradually I became belong to, which I love living there. That's the community is brilliant, the diverse community, very colorful community, but you need to, to spend time to, to get into the community.
So in other words, it's a real area where people know each other.
Yes.
And not what they call now vibrant communities, which we discussed last week. And diversity in the sense that the council gives us it. These are words that have been totally subverted and they're used to patronise us now.
Yes.
So in the real sense, this place is a good place to live.
Yes, and the real people were, still living there. So what happened was, we start receiving some nice letters from the council stating that, we're going to knock down your homes and make a nice homes for you, for the nice community, all those blah, blah. Because of my background, I never trust authorities like that. And I thought, something must be going on there. So I attend some of their meetings and I realized that was a privatization. So we started campaign. 2001, we won the ballot and we win the campaign. 73% of tenants voted with stay with council and with refurbishment. But since then, because council had this idea to demolish the Alsbury estate, we were excluded from the Decent Home Standard program.
So that would be the regeneration program?
No, the Decent Home Standard, the every council homes has to be the Decent Home Standard. Yeah. So some of the council estate, they changed the windows, double glazing, kitchen, bathroom, the wiring, they did this. But they haven't done this to Alsbury estate because they wanted to demolish the estate. The reason is because it's near to park and is on the very close
prime
to
real estate.
Yes,
we talked about this last week, and Simon Elmer of Architects for Social Housing called it a managed decline.
Absolutely.
These are great, these buzzwords, aren't they? I mean,
it is.
So basically, they just let it run down until it's impossible to maintain, and then they say, oh, it needs to be demolished.
Yes, they let it run down. That's the part of the changes in 23 years, and I've been seeing, because no maintenance, no repair, the loss of leakage, the loss of the issue we do have. We know the reason why council is forcing us to move out our homes. But despite that, one of their survey they made, the 80% tenants still say that we wanted to stay with council. We are still happy with our homes. So community still hasn't changed, the sense of the community. So we are trying to fight to keep our community as we were before, and then getting more strength and more, the fighting together for our homes. So that's what we are trying to do.
So there's quite a lot of unity going on there. So everyone's got together. They know what the game is.
Yes.
And so what's happening? It's a very interesting situation, this, because it's been referred to in quite a few times by Piers Corbyn and Simon Elman, what's going on at the Alsbury. So tell us what people are doing.
They divided the estate, and then the first phase has already been, emptied, decanted. Unfortunately, we couldn't stop it. But
so how did this happen? Were people actually evicted, or were they offered something else?
They had to bid for every people has got 3 times the bidding. So they have to bid some properties, either council housing or housing association. But when you look at their website, mostly housing association. So most of the people has been forced to move out to housing association, and the very near future they're gonna be homeless because they can't afford the housing.
This is the main point, isn't it?
Yes.
So what this regeneration is about is pushing people into unaffordable housing.
Yes.
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 Getting rid of the housing that they can afford in order to socially cleanse them outside of the area. That's really what it's about. It's a very simple process, isn't it?
Of course, and also they keep always using, referring the social housing and affordable housing. This is quite misleading argument. I am calling council housing because council housing is different. When you say social housing, which the housing associations are fiddling around, when they have the agreement with council, they say, we are going to make 100 social housing. They don't mean that, the 100 council housing. And when the agreement has been signed, they change, the most of it is the housing association and tiny council housing. So the Southern Council already knew that. In Highgate, they said, yes, we learned from our mistake, but they are doing the same things in Alsbury estate.
Haygate's an estate that was demolished, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what's very interesting about this, and we were talking about this with Simon from Architects for Social Housing, and he made a very important point here, is that what people have to do is stick to their original tenancies. Their agreements, once changed, will remove the housing rights. And that's extremely important because the original tenancies were not assured tenancies which can be changed and people can be moved out very quickly. The original tenancies which they don't want people to, well, they want people out of are long-term tenancies. Now, it was very important what Simon said about that, in that people need to stick to those tenancies and be bought out, stay where they are, do not let them change any agreement, do not sign any agreement, because that will give them their next phase, which is to socially cleanse you out of the area.
Yes, that's what we've been saying to tenants, when we are canvassing the door knocking in our leaflets, keep telling them, we have a secure tenancy. That means that, we council is responsible, and then, as long as we live under this secure tenancy, they can't do anything. But when you move out to housing association, their tenancy is assured tenancy, which means, in any case, they can easily evict you. The judges are obliged to evict you if you are behind your rent, like say, you are on benefit and benefit office made some mistake and you couldn't pay your rent, you are out of your house, and
very
that's the end
now.
of the story. So that's why we are so afraid of that. The many homeless family in the future on the streets.
Well, this is a very important thing because I know people have been in council housing, and basically the way it works is that if you're a few weeks behind on your rent and the council try and evict you, like they do in Camden a lot, that happens in Camden a lot, even if people are a couple of weeks behind, because they want those properties back. As we've been talking out. Now, if you went down to the court, the judge would go, well, she only owes 2 weeks' rent. She's been there 20 years. We can sort this out now, can't we? That's what's going to be taken away, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely, because you can't have this kind of agreement with the housing association. Now what we are advising people, if they are still, the fed up, because, if your house constantly leaking and your, the mice is everywhere, you want it to move out. But we are advising that if you are moving out, choose the council housing, nothing else, but has to be council housing, nothing else. Yeah.
Because those original secure
Yes,
tenancies
and then you carry on your
stated that
secure
you'd have to be
tenancy.
rehoused in
Yes.
something
Yes.
which was very similar
Yes.
to what
Yes.
you already had, and the
Yes.
same amenities. That's part of the
Yes,
agreement, isn't
and
it?
then your rent is, the quite low. The housing association just holding their rents. In the 5 years time is gonna be, the up to 80% the value of the market value. So that is gonna go up, and the service charge is already high, and many people are already start to complaining. They can't afford the service charges.
Yes, we brought this up the other week. It's very,
Yeah.
very important, because with council housing, they're managed by the council. Once you bring private companies into this, everything goes through the roof. And basically what we're seeing here, it's quite simple. It's all based on greed, short-term greed, which is going to eradicate a lot of the housing which people previously took for granted, really. And the input from these housing associations and these private companies like Lend-Lease and
Yes.
Bechtel, we've discussed all this, and it's very important that people have a look at UK Housing Crisis and Regeneration Exposed, that show, because we go into great depth as to how this is actually being played out. Because, for instance, we mentioned the London Brownfield Summit. There is a plan that will basically put all council housing into brownfield. It will become something that is undesirable land and has to be redeveloped.
Yes.
But, brownfield land is really what factories and with chemical pollution.
Yes.
But they want to rebrand that.
Yes.
Now, this
Thanks to Lord Adonis, then, he put this, the brownfield, the council estates, and all of the estate has to be demolished. That's what is coming from the Labour Party, Lord Adonis. So even though the Labour Party didn't to say anything about it, no comment from them, as always. And yes, what they want to try to do to get rid of the social state, that's what it's coming to. But what they are not realizing, because because I've been campaigner last 16 years for the council housing. So before we were individual campaign groups campaigning in our area, but now we all have our networks, we all know each other, we do things together. So we became a London-based campaign group. It's just emerged because of all those the attack on the council housing. And now people are refusing, resisting, and keep fighting back. And we know that we have only chance to keep fighting back until we get what we need.
That's a great place to leave it for this section of the show, and that's what people need to do. They need to get properly organised here, because this is going all over the country and it's massive, and it's just about short-term greed by developers who are now in charge of everything. Your local council will have no input into housing in the future. We'll see you in a couple of minutes. Welcome back to Windows on the World. I'm with Ison Dennis and Val Lindo, who's becoming a bit of a regular on the couch here at Windows on the World, but making very, very good contributions. We're talking about how London is being redesigned. It's been redesigned by private developers, and basically all remedy and ability for people to get any kind of voice in their local community or area or borough, as we really should know, is being removed. And we have done several shows on why this is. The first one was called BBC Lies and Lambeth Corruption with Piers Corbyn, and our recent one, UK Housing Crisis and Regeneration Exposed. Now, regeneration, as we've already discussed, does not mean regenerating anything. It's the destruction of our existing rights. So welcome back, Ison.
Hi again.
Yes, we've been chatting in the break about really how this is becoming, it's a nationwide problem, isn't it?
It is.
So what would you say to people out there who want to get organised?
I mean, yes, what we are telling people that, that keep resisting and get in touch with the other campaign groups to learn to how to resist and how to occupy if it's necessary, to help each other to be able to, do nationwide resistance. That's what we are trying to build up at the moment.
Yes, because what the council or the developers will do, and it's actually worse if the developers do this because they will be totally unaccountable. These are people that we can't get to, and that's a very good thing that people are protesting outside, people like Savills, who are now actually writing legislation. That's how crazy things are. You've got estate agents writing legislation and being partners with local councils and dictating housing policy. Now, it's not for them to do that. These are private organisations. And this all started to go wrong when housing trusts and the Almos came in, really, wasn't it? In other words, you've got a third party along with the council. So the council have given the responsibility for the council housing to a third party, and it's been all downhill from there, hasn't it?
Yes.
Really? Yeah.
Yes, because it is the the way of the going of the privatization. So what is the why those councillors are so keen on this? I mean, not the regeneration. I call it a gentrification. That's what is happening all over the London. To working class people. That's what it is.
Gentrification. I haven't seen any dandies with canes and sword sticks in Walthamstow. Where are they all? What do you mean gentrification?
It is a gentrification because yes,
and it's just I'm just playing on the word, really.
Yes, it is. It is. I mean, it's so sad, but what is happening is basically the money. That's what they are after, and most councillors later on go on and work with the property developers. So I can see the connections, the why they are so keen on to socially cleanse the communities everywhere in London, which the people are resisting, fighting back. And then easily, because their own interest, so easy to sell off your community because they have no ethic, and when it comes to point that you can't say anything, your voice can't be heard, they treat you according how much money you got in your bank account, and if you don't count into human being. The Southwark Council shamelessly refusing to keep our homes in a decent standard. As a council tenant, I have every right to get the maintenance, the repair and everything, because council is responsible. They do not do it. So the fight goes every level, in every angle.
Yeah, and what they're doing is they're basically wiping out the rights of 99% of the population in their local boroughs, and they're meant to be representing those 99% of people. So they're working for this sort of 1% who are in with property developers or earning a lot of money, who are going to buy these properties. Now, the thing is that when you've got these local councillors and people go to them, there must be some people out there who still think that these people represent them. So how do we convince these people about what's happening? Because it's quite astonishing. For instance, I saw this in Waltham Forest. The councillor there, who'd been there for 25 years, he said there's a regeneration meeting, and they were going to build a huge block of flats overlooking people's houses, and it was going to close down a couple of local businesses. Yeah. And he actually said this at the meeting. He said, "It's just the kind of change we need." And this is the sort of garbage they come out with, isn't it? It's like neuro-linguistic programmed kind of nonsense, which I'm going to get into a bit later.
Yes.
So how do you think we can do this? That we've talked about, you need to link up with people, but how we get it over to them.
What we need to do, everybody has to be on the street and fighting back. That is, the main things. What has happened before, I remember the poll tax, and I really love that. One of the elderly guy, he said, if I don't pay it, I'll be in trouble. But if we all don't pay it, they'll be in trouble.
Yeah.
So we need to create that because we are in majority. If we gonna go and come together, put them in a danger, and then kick them out of this the government and from our system.
I think this is a good thing to do with local government because that's where it starts. I mean, local government is representing central government. These people, if they're not representing us, these councillors and these people in office, because, I mean, this is an unpopular thing that I'm saying, but the council tax, is a lot of it is going on their wages. And if these people are not representing us, then they shouldn't be there.
Yes.
And they're going to move on anyway. So these councillors who are taking these backhanders, this is just basic corruption. It's very, very simple. You know, these people have been bought off, but
Yes.
these any kind of social housing is not going to come back, which is where it's just going to bring Val in. So give us a few updates because we're now aware of what's happened in Cressingham Gardens, where the council completely ignored public opinion. You were at the library in Herne Hill and the Minute Library. They've been the libraries have been sold off some private company to turn into gyms now. So this is the removal of all our rights. So what do you think? What do you think we should do about it?
Well, I think, as this lady said, I think we should get together and have meetings where whatever borough we're at, and just discuss how we're going to, let this government know that we're not standing for their nonsense. To be honest, these councillors, because until we had a march a few weeks ago. We went all the way from Kennington to number 10 Downing Street, and there were quite a lot of people who turned up from different boroughs, and they were having the same problems. So I think we should all get together and discuss on the next step, because we have to be honest with you, we have to do something really radical for them to realise and to wake up to know that, look, we're not going to stand for this.
Well, do something really radical would be actually standing up for your rights, your inalienable rights, which we all have.
Yeah.
And I've been through a lot of these situations, as you both have. And what we know for a fact is that when we get a group of people together, there will be people in there who are going to disrupt it and steer it in a certain direction. We've talked about this. Every single movement has been taken over. For instance, obviously things like the People Assembly are run by the government. I've actually done an article on that called Government Organised Protests. I mean, the government wants you to protest because it exhausts you and it's your day out. But it doesn't achieve anything. What would achieve something is a group of people with one aim, an aim that cannot be subverted into anything else. So they have one aim and that's it. And if you haven't got that aim, well, you're not with us, okay? And I think it has to be that simple, because once you start debating and getting into a wider area of things, the whole thing gets taken over and language gets subverted. For instance, things like what Notting Hill Housing say, it says that this is what this isn't social cleansing, of course, and it's not the demolition of all your rights along with your home. It's delivering a master plan for 3,500 new homes, 50% of which will be affordable. What does that mean? Affordable to whom? It doesn't say how much they're going to be.
Yes.
I mean, this is outrageous, right?
Whose affordability?
There's somebody sat in an office somewhere getting paid to subvert language into nonsense to patronise people. So 75% of the affordable homes, they can't say they're affordable, so people think, oh, they are affordable, yeah. There will be for a target rent, doesn't say what that is. 25% are for shared ownership or equity. Shared ownership means you've been thrown out straight away. 30% will have 3 bedrooms or more, so they'll be unaffordable because we already went into that.
Yes.
The cheapest 1-bedroom flat was something like 300 grand, wasn't it?
Yes. 270.
And that's around your way, the Alsbury.
In Alsbury estate at the moment.
Yeah. So, what have you got any ideas what we could do as our central aim to get this out to people?
I've been campaigning 16 years, and I keep saying this. All along, I told everybody, because the people are coming to help your campaign, the different type of group people, and I told them, and I constantly still telling people, if you are coming here, you are coming here to fight for the council housing. That's what we do. We all have different political opinion. Don't bring it with you. Come in here for the council housing, because I don't bring my other political ideas implement on the people, because that's what we are doing here. We are fighting for our homes. We are fighting for the council homes. We are fighting for the keep the welfare state. Those are our fights. So that's why it's becoming more powerful.
Yes, as George Bush said, you're either with us or you're with the terrorists.
Yes.
Simple, keep it simple.
That's it.
Yeah, but I just wanted to read some patronising garbage out, actually, from the website.
Can I just
Yes,
say
please do.
patronizing,
Yes.
the degrading,
Yes.
when they are building the new building, they did it in our area. They are building the back door entrance is for the council tenants, and then the front entrance is the private tenants in the same building, which they claim to be, the mixing communities. That's the way they understand how they mix the communities, but how degrading and how, I get so furious, how dare them to put us in that way because we don't have money.
Well, I think that the really horrible thing about that is it's quite possible they don't even see that it's wrong.
Yeah, because that's what they are doing.
That's true, they don't.
They probably don't think there's anything wrong with it. No. It says the regeneration is about more than new homes. Well, what do you mean it's about more than new homes? You're pulling down a council estate and you're building expensive flats on the top. So what is it about then? Oh, you might get a mini Tesco's as well. All right. So
It's not for the likes of ordinary, not for the likes
new
of
homes,
ordinary people.
community facilities and improved open spaces. The partnership is committed to ensuring that local people experience the social and economic benefits of regeneration. I mean, this is it takes your breath away, doesn't it?
Yes.
Such as employment, education and training. So wait a minute. So you remove the council from the equation, you pay off the councillors and you pull down everyone's houses. And what employment and education is that going to bring?
Nothing.
No,
Nothing,
true.
because they socially
Not true.
cleanse the
Not true.
community already, so nothing
No.
for us there.
It says it's going to improve your health and well-being as well by knocking
No,
houses
it's not.
down.
It's not for ordinary people. It's for people coming in from God knows where and want to work in the cities, or or whatever. Those who can.
For high-paid workers, basically.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's crazy.
Oh, I just want to finish this section off with something that's going to make you absolutely mad, right? You've probably seen this, Aisen. It says, "We know how special parts of the Alsbury estate are to residents, and we'd like to make sure that those memories are commemorated as part of the regeneration process. We'd like you to photograph your favourite bits about where you live on your smartphones and post pictures, and we'll put them up while we're pulling your houses down."
Yes, that's what it is.
incredible.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
He says designs will be created and incorporated into the buildings as each new phase is being delivered. So they pull your house down and then stick a photograph that you've taken of your old house on there, and it's your memory.
Yes.
And we're helping you.
It's not good. That's what they're trying to do at the Christmas Gardens. With
Exactly,
those
we've
people,
already covered that.
Yeah.
We're having a short break. We'll see you in a couple of minutes. In your opinion, do you think the jury was led?
It's not mine to say.
Very diplomatic. Tell the viewers a bit about what happened to you.
Well, they bribed 3 criminals to come in and give hearsay.
If a bomb went off in London and took 92 lives, yeah, would you want to be on the payroll of that?
It's all based on models and projections.
It's all over, bother shouting.
In order to get me in prison, they probably broke, a couple dozen laws.
Free Yolanda. Y'all planted drugs on Yolanda, and we're going to get her released and get the crooked cops busted.
That gave all the officers time for their adrenaline to slow down so we wouldn't get shot.
Just for the viewers out there who may not know about this story, when did you discover this pyramid?
In April of 2005, I first came to little Bosnian town of Visoko.
When you drive someone to take their own life, like the CSA have done, I mean, that's an abomination.
Thanks for being on Windows on the World.
Peace to London.
The rest is history, and everybody called me delirious after that.
Welcome back to Windows on the World. I'm with Ace Dennis and Val Lindo, and we're talking about the regeneration or the destruction of London. So welcome back, Ace and Val. We've tried to go into a few solutions here, and I think we've really, what we've done is we've put it into perspective enough. Can you, if you want to say something clearly to people about out there, how this is working, can you just do that now before we carry on? How this is actually worked with around the Alsbury estate? Because it's a carbon copy of what's happening everywhere else.
Yes, yes, it is. It is the biggest estate in the Eastern Europe, and it's very important in terms of, you know, all the council estates around us in London. But I mean, last year we had an occupation which took 2 months. We were in the empty buildings where the council built, you know, the fences around us, and then they hired the security company, which, you know, we find out the almost a bit million they spend the security and fences, but they are not, you know, choosing to spend those money into the refurbishment estate. They didn't even look as an option the refurbishment, because, you know, that they have to do every option. Then, you know, if nothing else, they can say, okay, we're gonna go demolish. They haven't checked it, you know. What we are saying, you know, we have an example, refurbish the estate from outside, turn it to the 21st century building, because you can add color, you know, something is architectural, something you can make it. But internally, the houses is the best council housing you can ever see. The spacious, big windows, you know, the soundproof, the heating is great. And I did have a meeting with the 2 original architects who built those buildings. So they came to my place and we had a meeting. They told us structurally the building has no issues, which the council is claiming. So the council is claiming the heating is a big problem. So that's one of the reasons for the demolish the estate. But one of the experts, the hired by council, we managed to talk to him, and he told us it can easily fix the problem. And then he's been sacked. Suddenly we haven't seen him after that. Someone else came. So you can see that the corruption, why they are trying to do it's so obvious.
Yeah, it's a revolving door of people
is.
who you never get to actually pin down or make liable, and that's why they do it that way. But that's very important that you've said that, because it means that the demolition is uneconomical. In other words, if you renovated the face of the building, because these things are just constructed as they would be now, which is concrete floors, and it's a very simple design. So they were only built in the 60s or
60s, yeah.
So all that's going to be intact. So all they need to do is refurbish the outside of the shell.
That's it.
And that would have saved them a fortune. So that means that it's not just the developers, but the building companies, not the whole thing. That there's a huge amount of money being made here at the expense of the rights of the public.
Yes, absolutely. That's what is happening. Yes.
And it's a carbon copy everywhere. That's the thing that people need to realise, is that this is not just one development. Every single development's going to be the same. They're having the London Brownfield Summit, which we already reported on with Simon Elmer from Architects of Social Housing. And that will mean the rebranding of every council estate in London as a brownfield site, which means that it's a site to be sold off and cleared. And the new housing bill coming will further the activities of these property developers and remove the council from the equation. So, Val, just give us a few last words on what your actions are going to be, what you think about what's going on.
Okay, well, I might as well sort of talk about Crystal Gardens. I was at one of their demos, and they were raising money by selling T-shirts in order to take the council to court to sort the problems out. And it was sorted out in court. And the thing is, something went funny with the councils. You know, something really went funny. So I was at this meeting a few weeks ago. Everyone was there to hear their fate. I was there to hear about the libraries, and they were, the people from Crestham Gardens was there to hear about, the flats where they're living in. They still say they want to go ahead with building flats, knocking it down, and the people are there saying, look, there's nothing wrong with our flats. Our flats are good. It's okay. It's strong. And, we love it. We love our gardens. We love everything about our flats. And we love our communities. So why do you want to actually, build new flats and move us out of the area and build new flats. It's going to cost a lot more money as well, building flats and things like that. So the thing is, the councillors, they walked out because people was chanting and shouting at them and echoing them, and they walked out of the meeting, and we were waiting for them to come back. Some people went home, they walked out, and then some people came back in, and some people couldn't get back in because they locked the door. So therefore, some people's coats and stuff like that was in the inside of the building while they were outside. So it was really a shambles, because then I was also waiting to hear about the libraries, and they didn't touch on that at all because they wanted to change it to something else.
Yeah, it's the diversion technique, the distraction principle, which we've talked about, and the Delphi technique. Anyone out there who wants to know how public meetings are run, just Google Delphi technique. It was invented by the Rand Corporation in the 50s, a way of corporate control of public and private meetings, or corporate meetings. So everything's corporate now, so we just need to control the narrative. And that's another thing you hear, isn't it, quite a lot, controlling the narrative. That's very Orwellian. It means we have no say. But this is very important, because you've just brought up that, what Aidan was saying about the 5 options. They give you with the options, and then they remove 4 of them.
Yeah.
So it's, in a way, it's a bit like sales and closing doors behind you. They lead you down a corridor, but they're closing the doors as you go down the corridor, and you get to them, and there's one room, and you're all pushed into that one.
Yeah.
And that's the way it works.
Yes, yeah. Because you don't get, do any survey, you don't get to say what you think, do nothing. I was going to say then they just go ahead, and then eventually, now we are facing, the bidding, because the decanter is started where I live, and then some people are moved out, some short tenants moved in. But what I am saying that I'm a fighter, and I fight until the very end. We are gonna fight back to take back our city, because this city is belong to us, and those are homes, and we're gonna keep fighting until we get our city back.
Yeah. The thing is, some people, talking about the fighting, some people have gone weak. They don't want to come out and fight. They've gone, their strength has gone. So therefore they don't feel like fighting. But I mean, the more we get the people in the meetings and sort of give them ideas of how to be strong and how to fight, because I do that. Whenever I go to meetings, I say, look, we've got to keep on fighting for this. We can't just let them take it. We can't just let them walk on us and thinking that we don't exist, because we exist. We are the ones who vote for these people. I don't vote for Conservatives, but we vote for the councillors to get in, the Labour councillors, as a matter of fact. But they're taking liberties, because, you vote for them, okay, we're in now, we can do what we want, and we don't give a toss. But that is wrong. They're not thinking about the people, they're thinking about themselves.
I think it's actually gone worse than that, because these people who have always been pretty much unaccountable publicly, you very rarely get them prosecuted. Yeah. It's very difficult to get them prosecuted for malfeasance or misfeasance or even fraud in public office. Extremely difficult. And I understand why the courts don't want to go there, because it can be a dangerous area. But when we see this level of fraud, that has to be brought to the attention of the courts now, and people in this country who are trying to exercise the rule of law under the present judiciary, which is obviously very difficult, but there has to be a remedy there. But I just wanted to share this with you, because it's very important. They've knocked down your housing estate, they've taken your library away, but Notting Hill Housing, right, who are in charge of the regeneration of Aylesbury. I don't know why you people are complaining, because they've employed a local man as an apprentice bricklayer. I mean, they're employment to your community.
Yes.
Can you believe that they put that on there?
Yes, and they are, without any shame, putting on the magazine, the leaflets, it is a tragic comic, actually, this gone so far and has to stop. Has to stop, no other option, because it's going to touch millions of people's life.
Yeah, I mean, once it gets to that stage where they think that it's acceptable to put that up, I mean, if they haven't even given the guy a proper job, It's an apprentice.
Yes.
So they're probably paying him
Yes.
100 quid a week or
I
something.
know.
Probably, yeah.
I know.
It's just incredible.
Yeah.
But that's the level we're at with these people. There's going to be a protest later on, which Iceland's going to go to, and it's the property developers basically patting themselves on the back, giving themselves some awards. It's Foxtons, Savills, and another property company. I don't want to leave them out. It's Barrett's as well. Foxtons, Barrett's, and Savills. Now, as we've already said, Savills are very much in with local authorities, and they're part of the legislation now of what's going on. So think about that one. I mean, that is, to me, means that we are in a very dangerous situation
Yes.
now.
Yeah.
If we can't even go to our council for remedy because they've been removed from the equation.
Yes.
And they're not on our side either, are they? No, they're not.
No. Well, of course
you know, wherever we go, wherever they're having their meetings, and they say, okay, this meeting's going to be at this place. Turn up there. They don't want to know what we've got to say. And then when we try to...
We'll come back to that later.
Over,
Yeah, thanks for your input, Val.
Yeah.
We're going to now go to our plant who's in the corner of the room, and he's going to tell us about the regeneration plan, which could take several minutes because we're way behind as well.
Okay.
And that's how they do it. But we've covered all this on the show, and it's happened a lot in California with these. We talk about this Agenda 21, which has been rebranded Agenda 2030, but is now known as Habitat 3. And a lot of the policies are coming down from the UN. I think that's a very important thing, that the implementation of this is coming from what is going to be a world government, and that is not a conspiracy theory. I can prove it all through documentation. So we're going to follow these stories, and we're going to carry on with this and try and get some remedy. But people like you and you are what people like you out there need to be looking up to and emulating, because we are at a very interesting period in history, and this sort of thing has been turned over many times before. When the society becomes run in a completely tyrannical way, then it will collapse, and this ultimately will collapse, but it's a very slow decline. People think there's going to be some big revelation and everyone's going to be on the streets. That won't happen. It will happen slowly, and people are being boiled slowly.
Yeah.
And we're seeing the results of that now because the water's getting hotter, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the bubbles is coming up from
The
everywhere.
bubble's going to burst, as I always say.
Yeah.
It will burst, and it won't be a nice thing, because a lot of people have been pushed against the wall, and people are going to sort of like shake it off and come strong.
Yeah.
And this government and councillors need to know what they're doing.
I think they need to be removed, and we have to find the way to remove them. And one of the ways is to make them feel so unpopular that that meeting was very good. And I'll probably show that footage again, because it shamed them. They didn't know where to look or what to do, and that at least is a start. But the solution to this is not going out, in my opinion, is not going out on the streets and individual protests, small protests, disrupting groups of people who are this greedy is very good.
Yeah.
But the things like the People's Assembly, where they just bus everyone in for their day out, that's a picnic. That's a picnic for the punters, yeah? And somebody said this to me a while ago, that when the French march to rid themselves of a tyrant, the British march to rid themselves of their temper. And that's really what happens. Everyone goes home and watches the X Factor after and says, that was quite an interesting day, wasn't it? Yeah, I met some interesting people down there, but what was it actually about? Anyway, that's Windows on the World for tonight. We'll see you next week.